Welcome to Attention Retention with Jacquelyn McManus, your source for the latest trends in transportation recruitment and retention.
Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode of Attention Retention. I am Jacquelyn McManus, CEO and founder of KJ Media. We are a recruitment advertising agency specializing in talent attraction, optimizing hiring processes, and driving efficiency to help grow your workforce in the trucking industry. And on this show, we explore the world of recruitment, retention, and recognition by interviewing industry leaders and experts as we dive into strategies, challenges, and successes of workforce management. But this week, this episode, we have a very special one in store for you. This one celebrates the resilience, dedication, and breaking barriers in the trucking industry. I am honored to be joined by two incredible guests from Wilson Logistics. First, we have Justin Walters, who plays a key role in supporting and growing Wilson's drivers network, recruiting, retention, recognition. But really what makes this podcast even more special and important is our friend over here, Kayla Putnam, a Wilson Logistics driver and a dedicated service member who is preparing for her next deployment in just a few weeks. Kayla, your story is a powerful one. Built a career in the trucking industry, and I absolutely loved your story, and we'll get into that. And also serving our country. Your journey is definitely proof in the pudding that trucking is a career full of opportunities, and women can thrive in this industry. So really excited to get into it and talk more at length and share your story with the audience. But let's kick this off with some introductions. And Justin, I think we'll start with you. And first of all, thank you both for joining. And Justin, let's start with you. Tell me more about yourself, your career in leading to where you are today at Wilson, and then we'll lead into Kayla.
Thank you, Jackie. I really appreciate that for having us on the show. Yeah, so my career started off in the recruiting world.
Yeah.
I worked for a trucking company for about 10 years. I had the pleasure of going and actually working for 10th Street for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And now I am here at Wilson Logistics, kind of meeting, the rubber meets the road type thing, and meeting some really, really wonderful people here, but not just at Wilson, but in the industry as well. So I'm lucky enough to be here in a recruiting and retention and marketing fashion here at Wilson. Obviously safety too, all the points. So yeah, I had the great pleasure of being introduced to Kayla.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was like the second week I was here, and I heard her story from our operations manager, Skip Wilson. So I automatically I got to get in front of Kayla, got to talk it through. And then that's when I called you. So yeah.
Yes. That's how we're here. And thanks for that intro. I mean, Kayla, when Justin called me, it was last week. Typically this podcast, in all honesty, it books out, 3-4 weeks in advance. But when you told me your story, I said, I have to get you on, because it is that powerful. And I loved learning a little bit about you yesterday through Justin. This is very much a male dominated industry, and it's really critical firsthand that women hear from other women about what it's like to be out there on the road. So, Kayla, let's just go back to the beginning. How did you become a truck driver? Tell us about your story.
So thank you, Jackie. It's nice to be on the show and everything. My story goes back a long time ago. A couple years ago, my nana was a truck driver over the road, and she brought me over the road one summer, and I loved it,
Yeah.
My whole life, I've only driven small cars, so I was never able to see over the edges of bridges. And when I got in her semi, I was able to see over the edge of a bridge, and kind of just made me happy. I was like, I like doing this.
Yeah.
And then I joined the military and became a truck driver in the military. And I really loved it. I loved walking on the trucks and being with the trucks and just being around them and everything. And I wasn't going to be a truck driver, and whole story there, but I ended up deciding to be a truck driver at the end, and I really love my decision.
Yeah, so you're also relatively a new driver, right? Just starting with Wilson. Is it about a year? Is that right? Mm-hmm.
Yep, I've only been with Wilson about a year, a little over a year.
That's great. So out of all the trucking companies out there, what made you decide to go with Wilson? Besides for Justin, of course.
I didn't even know Justin when I started. That doesn't count. One of my cousins actually works in the maintenance department here, and he told me about it. And he was like, "Hey, it'd be a good starter company." So I looked into it, and I think it is a pretty good started company. I actually really enjoy it. So, and luckily they were able to take me even with my CDL because I got my CDL through the military, and they still accepted me in even though they're not normally they
Right.
normally don't do that.
Yeah, that's something that's still being fought, that battle for sure.
Mhm.
And first off, thank you so much for your service. It's honorable that you're in two really male dominated industries, military and trucking. And I don't know if we can curse on this show, but I would say it's certified, bad, what, because in the best way possible. Tell me about some of the lessons you've learned. Were you always someone that grew up and just threw yourself in these industries, or talk to me about how you got here mentally too?
That's kind of a good question. I was kind of adventurous growing up, but
Mm-hmm.
it was just always just me and my mom. And
Yeah.
so I never had any siblings or anything. And I just like trying new things and doing new things. And my Nana, she's been a family friend my entire life, basically. And when she offered to bring me out, I was like, yeah, sure, I'll try it. It was something new. Family does not like me being a truck driver because it's so dangerous. And they were trying to talk my mom out of letting me go. But my mom let me go anyway. And I loved it, and she was really happy for me. Some of my family friends, I told them I was gonna be a truck driver here a couple months ago, and they were like, "Yeah, we knew that moment you got in that truck, you were gonna be a truck driver eventually."
Love at first sight.
Yeah, apparently, I loved it.
Well, in a sense, it runs in your blood, right? Figuratively, literally, however you want to say it, but it does. I think your Nana being a professional truck driver, was she over the road?
Yep, she was over the road for many years. I don't remember off the top of my head, but she finally got out of it a couple years ago and she loved it. And I like to say it runs in my blood.
It does.
My biological dad was a truck driver. I never knew him, but it's kind of funny that he was a truck driver and I became a truck driver and it's just there.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. And we were talking briefly beforehand, but your Nana being a truck driver 14, 15 plus years ago, I don't have those stats handy and I don't even know if they're available, but I'm sure, back then women in the industry was maybe 3% compared
Mhm.
to where we are now, between professional drivers, dispatchers, marketing, vendors, and that's grown over the years. I could say, for me, getting in this industry, I didn't know much about the industry growing up. I'm a girl from Long Island. And in 2008, I graduated from college and really went to college because they paid me to play lacrosse there, right? And I graduated and it was 2008 and we're going through a financial crisis. And I was like, there's no opportunities. There's literally none. And a recruiter said to me, "Hey, there's a truck driving staffing agency that's hiring right now." And I said, "A truck driving what?" And so she's like, "Just go for it'll be good for your skills to brush up on your interview skill sets and go to the interview." So I go to the interview and I meet with the CEO, and he actually was a truck driver himself. His dad was a truck driver. His grandfather was a truck driver, and now he owned this sizable business. And I learned quickly about the economics of trucking. And just in that same interview, I had a driver come in and meet with his CEO, and he needed some additional funds. One kid was going to college, and long story short, the CEO just takes some money out of the pocket and gives it to this driver, and I was like, I've never seen anything like that. That's not in the fashion industry. That's not in the high tech industry, right? And so the heart and soul of the industry is what grabbed me in. But I could tell you this, I was the only female of a company of, I think there was 45 people at the time. I don't know what it is about my personality, but I think we run a little similar. I just kept going, right? And I didn't let that stop me. And people would always ask, like, how do you deal with, and it's something that I always wrestle with because I'm like, I don't feel like I dealt with it. I mean, like, meaning I didn't feel like I had to deal with it. I was just doing, right? I wasn't putting that as, okay, I'm the only female under 25 in the industry at a truck stop, right? It was more like, hey, I'm connecting with people, I'm helping people, I'm doing my job. This is great. And so never really saw that distinction myself, right? But as I've gotten older, I've realized, okay, I mean, that was maybe a kind of a blissful place to be in my life. just recently going from, that, 2008 to in 2023, I was sitting with a client down in Maryland and I looked across the room and we had a couple drivers in there and we had a couple folks from recruiting and marketing and we were having like an annual meeting. And I looked around and I said, "Hey, this is pretty cool. 8 out of the 10 people in this room right now are women." It wasn't like that. And it gave me chill it still gives me chills, that story, because we're changing the industry. And I have to ask you, what advice would you give to, maybe younger girls, the next generation? That's really the folks that we need to educate on our industry. Like, what advice would you give to them if they were thinking about the trucking industry, becoming a driver or becoming a mechanic? What advice would you give?
So I actually feel the same way. Like I tell my story to people all the time and they're like, "Oh, that's so amazing." And I'm like, "Oh, it's just me doing daily stuff."
That's
I
it.
don't see how it's super amazing, but
Yeah.
stepping back and looking, it's like everyone's really inspired by my story and everyone loves hearing about it and stuff. And some advice I might just give is like just keep going and don't really let anybody tell you what you can and cannot do. And at the end of the day, it's just you. Yeah, you may have like your family members supporting you and stuff, but at the end of the day, it really is just you and you know what you like and you only get one life, you might as well live it and just try new things and enjoy it.
Bravo. I mean, yes, I feel like that's so similar to how I feel, and many women that I've talked to in the industry have a similar mindset, which is interesting. And like I said, looking at other industries, it's very different. It's very different, but it is essential. It is during COVID. I know I had a lot of friends that were sitting on the couch and there was no work for them, and they're in these big industries, the cool, sexy industries. But looking at our industry, we were moving, right? Like one of my clients hauled the first COVID-19 shots, which was just incredible to see. And it is essential for sure. I think that's really good words of wisdom. Now, tell me about a little bit. You're getting deployed soon, March 24th. Is that right? 25th. Okay, it was off by a day. How are you managing that, mentally? Obviously, you're still driving, you're up on deployment. Talk to me about that.
I'm pretty excited for my deployment. I've never been deployed before, and it's my first deployment. I'm really nervous, but I think I've got some pretty good people over there, and I know my unit pretty well now, so
That's
I know
great.
they'll definitely help me out with everything I need and everything. I'm pretty excited. I'm a little nervous to leave everything behind, but
Of
I
course,
know everything will be here when I get back.
it will. I think probably the two pups you probably are going to miss the most that you have.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna miss my dogs most.
Yeah. Trucking as the industry teaches people a lot. I think folks in our industry are very resilient. We're very kind, but we're also independent and problem solving. What would you say over the last year of driving, maybe some of the bigger lessons that you've learned, being out there by yourself, just you and the 18 wheels?
It is good to like just keep going and try to, like think about what could happen, think about kind of just like in the moment because there was multiple situations that could happen out on the road anytime, like an accident or anything like that. But at the same time, it's like I am essential. Like nobody else can deliver this load but me. Like people could come and pick it up for me, but then I've swapped out loads with trailers because I wasn't going to make the appointment time. And, just kind of like that self doubt. I'm like, well, that should have been me delivering that load and getting it there. But definitely just like keep going, keep your head up and be careful in truck stops. Make sure you watch your back and try not to talk to anybody. And just kind of, if you look forward and act like you have a purpose, just walk with a purpose and everything. It definitely helps a lot. And knowing that you can call your family whenever you'd like and stuff,
Very
that
good.
helps being out there by myself.
And my mother always said, "Act as if, and the rest will follow." So I love your walk with purpose. It's true, right? You have to be careful, and that's anywhere, right? In the city, out in the rural areas, in the truck stops, you name it. We always have to be careful. Everyone has to be careful. But, if you really have that purpose and keep pushing through, good things will come. Good things really do naturally come. And one thing, I mean, Justin, you brought this incredible person story to me, and like I said, I'm so honored. But what's incredible about Wilson, from what I've learned so far, and love for you to kind of dive into how Wilson, how you personally, I mean, you definitely have the heart and soul of the industry, and one of the reasons that you and I connected, personally, professionally, but stands out that you guys really dedicate supporting your drivers, not in just careers, but in their lives. Talk to us about some of the key initiatives that Wilson does as it relates to, recruiting drivers, retaining drivers. I think that's really it, and then recognizing drivers.
Yeah. Right. It's making that really tough decision between going back into the industry while being at 10th Street. Love 10th Street and what they do. What I loved about what Wilson has to offer is the career path. And in a way of it's very much in this way of where you can start off with no CDL, no idea of trucking at all, and kind of go through our program in that way. But also it doesn't just stop there in a way of, oh, you're a driver now and now you're on the road, right? Wilson does this. It's called like a choose your path.
Mm.
And along those path lanes essentially are more opportunities to continue to grow your career, lean into experience, but also really big into I want to say giving back and giving back to training tomorrow's drivers. It's been really big. And that's really where I leaned into why did I join Wilson Logistics is because of that. I feel like people like Kayla here who, you know, grew up, knowing it,
Mm-hmm.
wasn't exactly sure, but then got into the truck and goes, yep, this is it.
Right.
That's my thing. Right. I didn't know transportation trucking was going to be my career either. Very much, Jackie, I joined in 2009 where I had,
So we were just a year apart.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
graduated in '08, joined trucking and the '09, so you know what I mean, the recession time, right?
Yep.
And I got a lucky break, and an introduction. And like I said, I think I gave up on my NBA dreams a couple years ago now. So I decided trucking is going to be my career. Yeah, so that's what I love about Wilson, and just really in a way of just giving a true opportunity for a career and not just a job. Again, like you guys both have said, I'm the oddball out here in a way of the male of the group right now. But
You're not. So you're
but
not. And a lot of folks say that. Yeah, people say that. And not to cut you up, but I want to it we all need each other to support each other to tell these stories, right? So Justin, if you didn't reach out, I wouldn't have known, right? And so we all need to lean on each other, male, female, whatever. And that's how, I know there's some industry events where it's like women's only, and I always hear, "Oh, I'm the oddball out," and I'm like, "No, like it's just there happens to be a little bit more women than men, right? But we all need each other to boost this industry and really encourage the industry to shine." So you're in a unique seat in your background, coming from a big ATS to now Wilson. And I'd be curious, and obviously Kayla's story is incredible, and I'm sure there's going to be many stories to come. And I'm so excited to see your career, Kayla, and watch it over the years. What would you say? How are some ways that our industry could get more women into the industry?
so I'll tell a story about how I told Kayla. I go because she's very shy and not wanting to tell her story or just does it like she said. It's just me doing work. It's just me being out there.
Hmm.
But like I told her, we need to tell stories like this. And at the end of the day, obviously, I would love for them to join Wilson Logistics. But really, what I really want is just more great people like Kayla to join the industry, to feel empowered, to join a typical male dominated industry, to feel like they do have a place. They have a place here, anywhere within the industry, you guys have a place, and we want more. And because also, females are just safer drivers overall. They're safer, they're more committed. That's really where I come from and going, I just love that. So yeah, that's why that's why I wanted Kayla to tell this story to you, Jackie.
And you're also at home. You're surrounded by women as well, right? Two daughters and your wife.
Yes, I am. I'm surrounded by women, so that definitely helps. I get talked to quite a bit about that.
Yeah.
And absolutely all day.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about, Wilson has a strong or military program. I'd love to learn more about that. If you could share some details on how that works, what you guys do over there, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, we pre-apprentice or apprentice military program, certified the whole nine on that. And we really like to identify, people that have that background and make them feel, not that we don't want to make every driver feel special, don't get me wrong, but there is something about the military and also, about women. And again, back to Kayla's story here, in a way of it's both with Kayla, but leaning into and identifying our military folks and what they sacrifice and what they give, right? We have drivers who sacrifice a lot for us. Then we have military who are sacrificing for us cross seas, getting deployed, the training they go through and all the pieces. So we really like to make sure that when they come in here, I call it earn to learn,
Mm.
where you earn to learn in a way of where they're still able to be getting some of their military benefits and
Hmm.
they get paid on that while also earning a paycheck from us as they are learning the differences and all the challenges that come with trucking and all the pieces that come from compliance, safety, our service, all that good stuff. That is essentially Wilson Logistics Earn to Learn military program, apprentice program.
That's fantastic. I love the earn to learn and the details that go along with that. And it's something that is needed at most companies. I always wrestle with if there's driver shortages or is there just, overall turnover issues at trucking companies and that's one of the reasons why we have this show is to talk about recruiting, retention, folks like Kayla on, even though you're a rare breed yourself, but really highlight those stories and talk about what are ways that companies can not only recruit but retain drivers and keep them because we're losing drivers not to just other trucking companies. We're losing drivers to other industries, right? And so that's a big piece. It's that education process of how do we educate communities more? How do we educate the girls from Long Island, this one over here in New York, who never thought about the trucking industry, right? And getting that message out there more, just like any other trade, just like any other industry, because of the essentialism and, the people is what makes it great and the career path opportunities. So, it's a world that's always evolving. It's always going to be evolving. How do you anticipate, and Justin, I'd be curious your point of view, how do you anticipate recruitment and retention evolving kind of in this new age of AI, automation, lead to speed, moving fit fast. How do you see it moving in the next, couple of years?
Maybe it's a little cliche because we're sitting here now, but evolving in a way of we need to continue to tell stories.
Hmm.
These are the stories, even if they're the full podcast or short stories, YouTube shorts, but like just short stories that get people to really understand where we come from. You got the pretty marketing messages, you got the pretty designs, you got all that. I feel like that's starting to become less authentic.
Hmm.
And we're missing that authenticity that comes with AI, that isn't there. And I'm feeling more like we need people to tell the stories like these and get out and about. We're going to local schools around here and telling stories, just things like that, because that's what, again, people are missing. I understand it's a little bit of like one phrase that is really popular around Wilson Logistics right now with our owner, Daryl Wilson, is back to basics. And it is a back to
I
basics type of
absolutely
thing.
love that.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. I've been saying KISS a lot. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
Same idea.
Same idea. I mean, kiss might get you in trouble with HR if I say that, like we
Yeah.
should kiss, but like,
Especially today. Yeah.
yeah, so
Not when
we should
Nana
keep
was
this.
running.
But yeah, it's a back to basics, a triple B. So triple B, B2B, it's a back to basics.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is those options and in a way of just remembering that's where it all started.
Mhm.
and knowing that, yes, you can bring all these fancy tools, you can use all these fancy, I guess integrations and solutions and all that. But really, if you don't have the human side of it, you're really missing the bigger picture.
Hmm. I agree because I'm in the marketing digital. I'm a digital girl in this world, and it's gotten to a point, and there are solutions that are good, right? This for me, it's gotten to a point where it's overconsumption of all these different platforms, and everyone's going to 10x everything without really getting to know maybe me if it's a vendor trying to sell me, or some competitors out there that are selling to trucking companies making these claims, and we don't know. You got to peel back the layer of the onion, right? And there's ways to use. I think of AI as I still have an old-fashioned calculator, a calculator. CPAs use calculator. It's like it didn't take over their entire profession, and I think there's ways to utilize AI in virtual recruiting, and I'm a big fan in certain areas of that. Absolutely. Um, Especially with staff time and, dialing for donuts and getting ghosted. But I always say, no matter what, we're in a people business. It's human to human. And in a way, it's nostalgic to have that human connection. Kayla, I'd love to know your point of view from the advertising side, or, how our industry can potentially will tell more stories. Like what would you recommend? What would you say? You're out there every day to companies that are trying to do what Wilson's doing in attracting more females to their workforce.
I would say probably just more advertising, and it's kind of on how you are in-house too. When I came to Wilson, they definitely welcomed me in and was so welcoming, and they supported my military career 100%. Every time I had drill, I had drill once a month, I had to leave, and they were like, "Oh, okay, just let us know when you get back and everything." And when I told them I was deploying, they were like, "Hey, we support you 100%." And I really love how big of a family it is here. And I think that would really help with like advertising, because every company says that they're a family, but
Bingo.
some family, like some companies actually are. So I would definitely try to find like your company that really makes you feel at home, and like just try to advertise more on
Yeah. But
what
feeling
is kind
at
of like
home.
in-house as well.
Yeah, I think that feeling at home is true. I mean, I'm not one. I know my sister's generation, they hop jobs every 2 years to get a bump, and it's just this competitive. And I mean, God bless at the same time, right? But I'm a little bit of a loyalty type humane, and I think most people are at heart, especially in our field. They want to stay with a company and want to feel at home and have that balance. What does Wilson's, I mean, there's a question to both of you, and I actually love both perspectives, to be honest. When a driver gets hired, like, how did they make you feel at home? What did they do? And then Justin, yeah, talk to me about that on the leadership level.
When I first got hired, I talked to my recruiter and everything. Ray, he's been amazing. He kind of just helped me through the process. Before I got hired a little bit like before Christmas. And so
Mhm.
he called me every, 1 to 2 weeks just to check up on me, because he's like, "Hey, you're not going to start till the new year, just because all the trainers are at home and everything." And so Ray made me feel welcome, because he called me to check on me, not even just about Wilson, just, "Hey, how was your day today? Hope you're doing
Is that
well," and
right?
stuff. So that was very helpful for him to, it made me realize that, hey, they actually do want me here, and I'm not just, like a number, another number.
Hmm.
And it kind of helps too that you're not just a number here. You definitely gotta find like the companies that, when I call, I'm like, "Hey, this is Kayla." I'm not, "Hey, this is truck number, whatever my truck number is at the time." It's, "Hey, this is Kayla," and they know exactly who it is. And I really like how we just work together, and they can find, if I have an issue, I can call them immediately. And if I need help with anything, either personal or like with the truck or anything, I know that I can reach out to them and they'd be able to help me, no problem. And even though I'm leaving, going, I I said I wanted to turn in my keys. I was done with over the road. I just wanted some time at home, and they reached out and they were like, "Hey, do you want to try local?" And so it gave me a little bit of extra opportunity just to kind of stay with the company and, just be with them. So I know that was kind of just the way of keeping me here longer. But I definitely think that I do like how they were like, hey, you don't have to just leave if you're not ready. We want you to stay here. And it is pretty, they just do little things here and there.
Those little things are big things. They all add up.
They do sometimes.
They all do.
So, from my perspective,
Mm-hmm.
one is that that's really great to hear all that because I hadn't heard
Incredible.
that part of the story yet. But I mean, really, where I liked is from my experience so far on leadership has been it's interesting. It's the little things like we said a little bit ago. And I feel like it's more partnerships.
Mm.
We're partnering together in a way of, the fleet manager and Kayla, right? We're both wanting to be successful.
Mm.
But then you swing in compliance and safety, and then they go, okay, well now we need to make sure you're prepared for that success too, and remaining compliant. And then obviously safety side of just making sure, we talk about safety, how. There's a lot of the how can you be safe and all that. So there's a lot of coaching involved in that. So
Mm-hmm.
from my outside perspective coming in, also just being observant it's those interactions I'm seeing that I love so much. And it's simple things like smiling faces to me, right?
Yeah.
And if you're seeing a driver, Daryl, even like the owner interacting with our, drivers and just, you see smiling faces again, right? Like I'm down there, I'm high-fiving, I'm fist bumping. I don't know who I'm high-fiving half the time
You're
because
still
I'm just
fist
so,
pumping?
yeah, but
Yeah.
no, like fist bump, right? Like, I mean, I might be fist, but no,
Like bring it back.
fist bumping. And I met a guy by the name of, he just started here. He's a trainee named Zach, just a good dude. Just sat there and we just BS for a good 20 minutes about the Dallas Cowboys. He's a disappointed fan. I am too. But it was just a really good conversation. And that's somebody that will come in and I'll be like, hey, Zach, those are the things I just really like to pay attention to. For Kayla, I was just saying, hey, give me a list of supplies that we can send over for your, over there and your deployment. And those are just, again, it's the little details, but it could be a big deal. And those are things we want to make sure we do really, really well. We even offer here, we call it driver assist.
Tell me about that.
It's a program that we put together a while ago. If you're not able to get a hold of the fleet manager type thing, right? We have somebody there for the assist, right?
Mm.
We're also like if a driver's spouse, let's say a family member, they need help with something, maybe at home and they're not able to get a hold of their significant other driving. They're there to help with that too. We're there to make the connections. So we're all connectors in this industry, right? So we have somebody very special that is in that role to make those connections and then to be of help. So that's who we have here to kind of help with those things.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, I'm going to be taglining, I am essential because you are essential. And we need to provide as much assistance and support as we possibly can so you can be essential for everybody in this country and not just to a family member, which is a big, big, tall order to ask now that I said that out loud. But yeah, so those are just some of the things we talk about and that we do here that is essential to our culture and just bringing everybody to be one big group or family or community is really what I like to call it.
I know for sure I would not want to be a dispatcher. I give props to them. I could never be a dispatcher myself, but I'm like, without dispatch, I wouldn't be able to get loads and stuff. So I definitely love that. And I could never do it, but I give props to them and stuff. And he, all the time, my dispatch likes to say, we need to deliver this load, or hey, there's a load that we need.
We.
Yep, and he always uses "we," so I like that a lot because it doesn't make me feel like, yeah, I'm out there driving, and he's called me multiple times, and he's like, "Hey, make sure you check the weather and stuff, because the winds are bad or whatever." And I'm like, "The winds aren't too bad," but I know he's definitely looking out for me, and he definitely cares. Like, he's like, "Yeah, it's better that we be safe and we don't get into an accident and stuff." So it makes me feel like if he's there with me most of the time.
I'm so glad you brought that up, Kayla. I think this is our 60 something podcast. When you dig into the story, I haven't heard that yet, the we. And I'm so glad you brought that up because it's those small details, but and you're part of a team. It's a we, right? If you were going to go play little league soccer or lacrosse, everything was a we. It wasn't I. And that's such a great way for dispatchers to communicate because oftentimes we find that drivers leave people, They're not leaving, it's usually not much money comparatively with between one position to the other. You lead people. And so dispatcher training, and it's a hard job. I actually did it. That was my first job at the truck driver staffing agency, and I learned French very quickly. But okay, we did that. Next, I'll go to recruiting, please. But it's a hard job. But oftentimes, drivers are leaving the dispatchers themselves, which is the company. And I think that's such a great tip. I think that's such a great tool that other companies can use with their dispatching to driver relationship. It's a we thing. And that's really what it is that, hey, you're late, or we're running a little behind. What do we need to do? Right. It shifts the energy completely in the conversation. I mean, yeah, no, Kayla, just round of applause. I'm so glad you brought that up. And you guys mentioned, both of you mentioned culture, the C word. It's something that, Justin, I'd love your take on this. I don't think it was a word that our industry used often, pre-COVID at all. It was butts and seats, let's recruit, lead to speed hire, here are the metrics, culture. The last few guests I've had on in conversations with other clients and folks in the industry, culture is the word. Is what is our culture? How do we make it better? And it's always stems from the top, but it also comes down to that relationship between the driver and the dispatcher and building that culture, right? When it's a late night. I mean, have you found that that's a word, or that's something that trucking companies are really focusing on now, is culture? I'd love to learn more about your thoughts about that.
Two sides of that a little bit. I feel
Okay.
like culture has become a little bit of a buzzword
Mm,
but at least it's a buzzword in a way of people are talking about it, which is what I feel is most important. Sometimes it's really hard to figure out what your culture is or the things that you need to do to establish that culture. But I think if it's on top of mind, you'll find that way, right?
hmm
People say safety culture. I'm a more fan of safety needs to be in your culture, but not defining your culture on safety, right? So we're a people culture. That who's I was describing this earlier. Somebody kind of talked about, they gave me a hand motion of drivers down here, and then all the way to the top, and I go, actually, here at Wilson, you have that. It's the opposite way around. Drivers start up here, and everybody else is down here. We start with the drivers here,
hmm
and that's our culture.
hmm
And the reason why we talk about safety so much is not because of safety scores and all that stuff, even though we need good safety scores, but it's again about the people. It's about everybody, and our driver manager, fleet manager, using the we, right? That's a we are all in this
Yeah.
together,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We have a kind of a saying that's kind of gone around, and now it's kind of really picking up some steam around here. We have two jobs here at Wilson Logistics. One is a driver, and the other job is supporting the driver. So it's a little long of a saying, but it works for us in saying that's what we are. So yeah, culture, I feel extremely happy that it's starting to hit trucking companies and knowing how important it is,
hmm
because we all have to do this together and work together, and understand how essential this industry is.
hmm 1,000%. There are so many buzzwords that are just entering our industry. AI is one.
Yeah.
But and culture, the reason I bring that up, because we are the people industry, right? And so having the we in the communication, I mean, even Justin recognizing how important your story is, Kayla. I mean, that sometimes goes unnoticed, and it shouldn't. And that's why I'm so grateful that we're having this show, and we'll be able to share this with you know the next generation of truckers, females in the industry. There's so many organizations that we're going to share this with. So it it seems like it's something ingrained in the type of people that Wilson's bringing on too. You guys all share common traits down to your core. So it's like the core values essentially, but that derives from culture, right? Or that derives from, but it's really core values and the type of people that you bring on. And the driver manager, for example, that's a win. That's incredible. And probably taught other people that. Definitely teach other people that too that are listening to the show.
Let's bring you into this conversation of culture, but also not just like culture in a way of working so hard on a forum to allowing us to tell a story. Right. It does, we have the story and we love telling the story. Well, I do. No, Kayla does too. But without your hard work into putting and getting people to want to watch and pay attention and all the hard work you've put into it, even on the back end that nobody sees, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Is extremely appreciated because we get to tell those stories. And again, you might not be in the trucking company here at Wilson, but now you're officially a part of us because we're forever connected. So it goes out to you too for putting in that time and effort that might go unnoticed, or Jackie's trying to build her brand through it. I mean, yes, you're telling great stories and you're using it. And so we appreciate you as well.
That's very kind of you. Thank you
You're
for
welcome.
saying that. It's something I realized was really critical when I joined the industry back in 2008, 2009. I didn't realize I'd start a business. I didn't know podcasts weren't a thing at the time, right? But I did know that not only it's essential, but the people in this industry are fantastic. And it is our society mandated people basically, in a country, but you went to college, right? You graduated from high school, you went to college. Well, college is very expensive. And I was able to go to school because I played lacrosse. I have a lot of friends that went to school, mountains of debt, and they are because that's our generation, right, Justin? Like that's what we did. There wasn't another option really. There were certain like training schools, but it was going to college, whether it was a local college or, across the country. And as I've gotten older and realized it's not, there's the driver, there's opportunities to grow as a driver, to be an executive. I know half of my clients, they started as a trucker and now they're running companies. Kayla, you might be running Wilson in a couple of years, right? And calling the shots, and you'll be buying him lunch if he ever buys you yours. It's one of those deals where I'm like, people need to learn more about this industry. So thank you for saying that. It is my mission to talk more and share the industry. And I remember 2020, quick story. I've always had, my friends and family are very supportive, of course, of being an entrepreneur, but why trucking is usually was the question. There's other industries. You same?
Yep. Yep, that's exactly how my family was. They support me 100%, but they definitely worry for me all the time. And they're like, I just want to make sure you're
Sure.
okay. But they do support me.
Sure. One of my first weeks of starting this business, I went to a truck stop by myself and I had a grand old time, right? But I got in a lot of trouble from my family. It wasn't well lit, but during COVID, I received a couple of phone calls from friends and family, and they were like, now I get why you're in this industry. Because the news and the media, to your point, Justin, is educating everyone outside of the industry of our essentialism and what we do. I remember Western Hope vividly. It was like April 1st of 2020 highlighted truck drivers and celebrated them. And I was so excited about that because it's something that should be continuously celebrated. And it's amazing, then that dies down. So now this is where this podcast comes in. There's so many great other podcasts out there that highlight drivers, that highlight the success stories, but also the hard stories too. Like you mentioned, Kayla, you're like, it's not easy, right? But you keep going. And I think that's really what's going to elevate this industry so we can continue to bring people in and then grow it. Well, I could tell you this. This has been extremely special, very special episode. And Kayla, I know we talked about this, but as we wrap up, what message would you like to share with other women drivers that are maybe getting nervous or maybe don't have the right company? They haven't found the right company and they need some guidance in finding the right company like you found with Wilson. What guidance would you have for other female truck drivers?
Can you hear us now?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. So that's actually a very good question, Jackie. I would definitely just say keep going. And trucking's definitely not for everybody. You either love it or you hate it. There's no in between. And I think that if you like it, you find the company you like. Yeah, it might take a couple years, try different other, not just the different companies, but offer like reefer or flatbed or box truck or, just
Mhm.
try other companies and other types of trucking and like not just flatbed. Don't do flatbed all the time. Try box or, if you do box all the time, try flatbed and just kind of find what works for you.
If I may, Jackie, I want to, I like stories that kind of gets pushed out there. Um, I'm just gonna flip to you. You asked the questions. I'm gonna ask Kayla a question if that's okay with you, Jackie.
I would love that. Absolutely.
What? And tell us stories about when you're. What is that story you told me about? You're backing in and or you're doing something, and somebody said something to you in a lot. What was that story?
Oh, so I've had multiple stories like that. A lot of people have told me I can't do something, and one of my favorite stories is, I was trying to close my door, and I had my keys in one hand, and so I didn't feel like putting them down, and I was trying to get my door shut, and this guy was watching me, and he goes, "Oh, you need some help?" And I kind of like looked at him and shut it and put it down, and he goes, "Oh, you did that and with one on?" Okay, and he kind of like stepped back, and I kind of like that story, and I've had some other guys be, I pull into a truck stop because I got a nail on my tire and I pull in. I'm like, hey, I need, to look at this tire or this nail on my tire. And they're like, oh, like a car tire? And I'm like, no, like a truck tire. And they're
Oh,
like
my.
a big truck? And I'm like, a semi, an 18-wheeler. And they all just kind of like stand there and they're baffled. They're like, really? And I get told all the time, they're like, you drive that big thing? I'm like, yeah. They're like, you're so tiny. And I'm like, yeah, I get that a lot. But, I drive it. And of course, I get the joke from some of my military buddies that I need a booster seat and, I need a foot extender. But I'm, I love it. I just got to sit a little closer to the steering wheel than some people do. But, I can see over the dash. And I definitely like telling those stories and telling people that, like, they look at me like, you can't do that. And I turn around and I show them I can. It's really satisfying. And then the whole day I'm like, yeah, look what I just did.
Absolutely. Go, girl. That's incredible. That's incredible.
What I wanted to highlight in that is for females or just anybody in general, but females is you're gonna have a lot of doubters, and to me, if you can take anything out of this entire episode here, is you can be a bad the word Jackie said earlier, and use it to fuel yourself into knowing I'm out here, I am essential, I am that, and go do the things. So that's me and Kayla. That's what I've learned the most from her is just
Same.
those like just you can't back into that. Cool, calm, collected. Get in the truck, go reverse in that
Exactly.
spot, and just let the talent do the talking.
Yeah. Oh, that is the best. Let the talent do the talking. You kind of could just look at them like,
The
how
other day,
satisfying.
one of the, like, I pulled into a shipper and, I came out and of course I had to read the signs. The GPS was taking me the wrong way. And so I read the signs that came around. He goes, oh, you read the signs? So I was like, yeah, of course, and he's like, okay, so you'll just turn around in that lot, come back, whatever. Went to go turn around and I went to go back up and he was like, okay, so you see that, like, there's like a sign over there and whenever your wheels get to there, that's when I would start turning. And I just kind of stopped and looked at him. I just let people talk to me and stuff. And he's like, yeah, I don't
You
really
don't
know a
cut them
lot.
off and you just show them.
Yep, exactly. That's what I like to do. And, he's like, yeah, when your wheels get there, just turn your wheel. But you're the professional, you do it. And I backed up there and he was like, yeah, it's kind of a difficult spot to get into. That was one of the easiest spots I've gotten into in a long time. And he just kind of stood there and watched. I was like, yeah, I know what I'm doing.
Do you need help with that?
Yeah, I think he needed help more than I did.
Yeah, I have to ask you, Kayla, do you have other female trucker friends or do you have like a community that you connect with online or locally that kind of support you through this? Or are you just like, I got it. Like, I got it.
don't really have a lot of female friends, but actually the female friends I do have here, I met some from here. One of my trainers, she trained me over at Craft. Her name's Allie, and she was one of the best trainers. I was her first student, so she was learning, I was learning.
Right.
We still talk to this day, and that was over a year ago. You know, she's like my best friend. And one of the other girls, I have 2 dogs, and so they like to run around the terminal. And one time, this other girl's dog was out, and I was like, hey, let's just introduce them, see if they get along. And ever since then, you know, we call each other, her name's Shelly, and we'll call each other, and, you know, the dogs will play, and they get so sad when they can't play and everything. And so I really enjoyed talking to her, and both of them actually have really helped me, because I'm like, hey, I need to complain about this, or I need to talk
Right.
to you about this, and they'll help me through it, and I kind of help them too. So I've definitely made some friends here.
I love that. I mean, I always find, yeah, for myself, sometimes it's just venting, we just need a vent, talk, you know what, and it feels better, it feels good. And especially if someone can relate to you. I have a lot of female friends, I have a lot of guy friends, but there's certain friends I talk to about certain things. And I know I just want that validation, literally, that I'm right. But that's a whole topic for we're in therapy about that. But I always think that a community is good. It doesn't have to be big. Like mine's, one, two people, solid people. I'm more about the quality than the quantity, right? And I think that makes a difference. I know there's a lot of different support groups out there for women drivers, and I've joined them just because just amazes me. It's not an easy job by any means. And it's something that is so admirable. Now let's talk. You're going to be deployed in a couple of weeks, even more admirable. How long are you going to be deployed for? Do you know?
I'm gonna be deployed for about 13-ish months.
Wow. Okay. So I propose this. After you catch up with your dogs and the family, when you get back, we jump back on a show and let's talk about it. I'd love to reconnect with you. And that means, Justin, you're on your second lunch to buy her, Kayla.
Well, I think
Um,
that one would be 3 by now.
I would
Right?
definitely.
Yeah,
it counted.
1. This one would be
Hey.
second.
Yeah.
Let's just do it. Let's just do a nice dinner and take out
I'll,
a
I'll
team.
fly down for that.
He would love that.
Uh,
He's already told me that I have to tell him everything when I get back.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, it's gonna be also, yeah. I mean, you'll need a couple of weeks to readjust and all that. So definitely not day two by any means. But Justin, let me know, or Kayla, you have my cell phone, so you just let me know. Any final thoughts as we start to wrap this up?
No, I'm just glad we highlighted Kayla. And I know she's very, I'll say shy, but also don't think it's a big deal. But me and Jackie getting out there, we've met a lot of clients, a lot of people through our years. I'm just extremely proud of you, and I'm thank you for telling your story.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. I know I just met you over the past week, but I'm extremely proud of you and inspired, to be honest. You've made me kind of think about my inner, you know what, and I appreciate you, Justin, for bringing this amazing person into my life, and I think you and I will be friends. And I'm looking forward to it because we need to support each other in this industry, regardless of what you do, right? We all need to support each other. I wish you, first of all, thank you for your service. I wish you the best of luck and peace and everything that goes with it. And thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story with me that will be shared with other drivers, other leaders in the industry. And it's inspiring. So thank you so much for all that you do. Thank you so much. And for everyone that's listening, down in the show notes, there'll be a link to Wilson Logistics to learn more about the company. And highly recommend if you listen to every minute of the show, it's safe to say to go check them out. If you're a new driver or existing driver and looking to find a company that really promotes you and your career growth opportunities, definitely a company to check out. So Justin, Kayla, thank you so much. That concludes another exciting episode of Attention Retention, a very special episode of Attention Retention. Thank you for our listeners for tuning in. Remember, the road to success begins with effective recruitment, thoughtful retention, and genuine recognition. Feel free to share this knowledge with your peers, industry colleagues. Your sharing can make a difference. Together, we can empower this industry to thrive. Until next time.